What's up, everybody? This is Dylan. Today, we're going to talk about tanking in Hardcore World of Warcraft Classic. This video is going to mostly be geared towards warriors, and it's probably going to explain some more of the basic things that Warcraft veterans won't need to hear. It's mostly going to try to help new players and overcome their fear of tanking. As I said, it's going to be mostly geared towards warriors, so druid players can ignore some of the class-specific things that I say. Most of the things that I say will be able to help druids and warriors equally, but druids might want to seek out more class-specific things if they have deeper questions about abilities and such. So anyway, let's get right into it. So the first thing that you're going to want to look at is your talents. One of the most important talents to reach early is anger management. And the reason for that is because it allows you'll have tactical mastery, so you can retain rage in between stances, and then the one extra point will just give you a bunch of extra rage in between combat. Also, an additional thing that the tooltip does not say is while you are in combat, you passively generate rage because of this talent. The tooltip neglects to say that, and they update it in a later patch. You're not going to want to go into the protection spec this early in the game. Later on, that'll be fine, but for right now, you're not going to be using a shield. The reason for this is because you will do more damage with a two-handed weapon. Shields become good later in the game for this reason here, because you get a bunch of attack power and you will need it for early in the game before you're super geared from raid. People will say to go into Fury Prot immediately, but the real answer is that you're not going to have enough gear early on in the game to do this. This changes later on as you get a little bit of raid gear. Then you get more hit gear especially. Certain warrior abilities require you to be in specific stances. Also, don't mind my horrific UI. Overpower is one example of this. It requires you to be in battle stance to use it, but if you notice that an enemy dodges your ability, you're going to want to use it. So, an easy way around this, overpower costs 5 rage, and your talents, this one, allows you to retain 25 of your rage points when you change stances. If you set up a macro like this, it'll put you in battle stance and use overpower on the same button. So you can instantly switch to battle stance by using that button. I have it keybound, I don't normally click it, so don't worry. There are many other examples of this. One that I use to charge into a pack and immediately swap to defensive stance. One that I use to taunt, even though if I'm in battle stance right now and I want to taunt something, I just can by using my number 5. And it's also the same button on my defensive stance bar, even though the other abilities change. Many other things have something like this, an interaction that you can macro to make it easier to use.
So they're following the escort, they're following Square. They skipped this pack. I see. So the escort keeps going.
Nah, I don't think you can outrun. Yeah.
Yep, the escort keeps going.
He's still walking, and I'm scared if you get too far from him.
Tyler 1 is attacking nothing and backpedaling. There's an auto attack after 10 years.
I don't know if there's like a
Big cleave, sweeping strikes, sure. No whirlwind. Apparently it's bad, according to Tyler.
As the tank, you are largely responsible for the pace of the dungeon, as well as how and what packs are pulled. At the risk of sounding cliche, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. It is worth hearing at least once in your life. Going through a dungeon super quick is good for an experienced group, but in hardcore, you're going to want to take your time a little bit and make sure that everybody's on the same page and locked in for every pull. And it's always better to pull an extra pack than have that extra pack pull on accident during a larger confrontation. One of the most important add-ons for tanking, in my opinion, is threat plates. It allows you to see at a glance what targets you have good threat on, what targets you're beginning to lose threat on, and what targets are attacking other players. This is important for a number of reasons and lets you see at a glance what you need to taunt and pick back up. Let's take a quick look at this SFK run from the other day. You'll notice that the green on the nameplates, that's threat plates, and it means that the targets are attacking me. When it turned red, it went on to another guy and I taunted it back. That's a quick indicator of how it is to see the things and be able to get them back onto you quickly using threat plates. You'll also notice that I'm using a ranged weapon to pull whenever possible. That's because of social aggro. You don't want to charge in and accidentally pull multiple packs at the same time, because that could easily put you in a more dangerous situation than you need to be in. You can always pull more packs in as your group becomes ready. Just make sure you keep an eye on your healer's mana. Sometimes, when you're fighting things, there will be a next pack that's in the room, or another pack across the hall or something like that. You can just pull them in with your ranged weapon whenever you feel it's comfortable to do so. And the other pack is just hanging out in that room waiting for us to come in. You can notice that threat plates is doing its thing, and it easily lets you know when to get threat back on certain mobs. If they're at low health, it's okay to usually just let them go. This room in particular is a perfect example of why you should use your ranged weapon for pulling. And there are plenty of examples on hardcore death clips that show you examples of what can go wrong when you pull a room by charging in. The reason for this is because of that enemy on the ledge up there. If you walk in, he could easily body pull from the lower level, and he'll walk all the way around the stairs and bring everything on the upper level down to you at once. This can be negated by just going slowly around the corner and pulling carefully. Line of sight is a mechanic that basically means that an enemy has to be able to see you to hit you with a spell. This is true for almost every spell. There are very few exceptions, and you're not going to run into any of those at lower level. But you'll notice that every time I go around the wall from the enemy as he casts his spell, it cancels his spell. It doesn't cast off, and he has to run over to me again. This boss in particular and a few others do a mind control thing that you have to be very careful of. It basically will allow your party members to kill you if they feel like it. This is technically griefing and probably reportable, but in the short term you're not going to be able to do anything about your character being lost. So you should always at least make sure that you trust your party members. So that's about the gist of tanking in Classic World of Warcraft. Hopefully this video helps some newer players find confidence to build their own groups and not try to queue themselves as a DPS warrior into mine anymore. Thanks. Have a nice day, guys.